Good evening, everybody. It's your boy Duke. It is like 11 o'clock here on Friday night. The U.S. plays Netherlands in a couple hours. I tried to lay down, go to sleep, couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. I teased a tactics video, and I just said, fuck it, let's get up, let's go make a video. Been thinking about this game nonstop since the U.S. qualified, and of course, we figured and bet that the Netherlands would finish top of their group. But it's been an absolute tough tournament for the Dutch thus far. And look, let's be honest, it hasn't been easy for the U.S. either. Both teams much better defensively than they are going forward. There are some key matchups that we'll need to exploit if we're going to win the game, that being the U.S. And for the Dutch, it's not as simple as rolling a ball out there. Louis van Gaal is putting on a brave face, saying, we can win the tournament. We have a good team. Okay, Louis, show us. Now, look, I've been preaching to you guys and my guys over in Discord, fantasyguru.com, that Van Gaal's a great manager. He really is, and he's especially talented at building a team throughout a tournament. You'll see as I go through these different games and talk about them, how they have been getting better incrementally over the last three games. Of course, Memphis Depay is now healthy, should start and expect to play at least 75 to 80 minutes, if not more. Cody Gakpo has been having a fantastic tournament, a goal in each game, but really limited in chances and extremely efficient with those chances. And they have deficiencies, let's be honest. They've changed personnel. The player next to De Jong has changed. Timber did not start the first match against Senegal. De Ligt was there, got absolutely eaten alive. He made that adjustment. Blind has deficiencies with his athleticism, especially against this right side that we have in Weston McKennie. And there's tons we can go through. We can talk till we're blue in the face. But let's get through it. Let's just start with building up this tournament. Let's start with USA-Wales. This was a game that was a tale of two halves, quite honestly. The U.S. had about 59% possession for the game, took 6 shots in total, 0.79 expected goals, 41% possession, 50% in the second half for Wales, 7 total shots, 5 in the second half for Wales, and 1.55 expected goals, 1.38 of which came in the second half. So we noticed a drastic shift in tactics for Greg Berhalter. A lot of this attacking heat that you'll see here, of course, the middle of the goal pretty wide open, and this is very indicative of what this U.S. team has. Solid back line, extremely good midfield, positivity on the wings, a giant gaping hole at the center forward position here. But the majority of this forward progression was done early when they were being athletic and pressing and getting on the front foot, playing vertical passes, getting into that attacking half. Wales had essentially nothing in the first half, to the point where they brought on their big man, Kiefer Moore, in the second half, played a bit more direct, pressed the U.S. further up the field, and caused them issues. I didn't like the adjustments we saw from Greg Berhalter in that first game, especially in the second half, and it reared its ugly head in the third game. But before we do that, let's talk about the England match. U.S. 44% possession, 10 shots to 8 for England, and then 0.63 expected goals, 0.77 for England. Look, this was a performance that was roundly applauded across the states. I thought the U.S. was fantastic. It wasn't a sit and bunker and hope and effort. It was, we can play with these guys. We're going to get on the front foot. We're going to try to keep the ball. We actually went to a bit of a 4-4-2. We had Weston McKennie pulling out wide. Some really good tactical nuance from Greg, and it shows here. We'll just show McKennie's heat map. The guy's playing right wing. He's playing essentially the right wing over here with Pulisic and Wright kind of occupying these high areas here, and Weah getting up there as well. Just plenty of forward pressure here against an opponent that was supposed to be, and probably is, one of the best 3 or 4 teams in the world. So we have 2 games where the opponent has won the expected goal battle. The U.S. has outshot its opponent once and really fell apart in the first or second half against Wales. Now let's go to this Iran game, the crucial game where we had to have a win. You see a bit more forward progression here from the U.S., who are on the right side. Again, still that gaping hole in the middle, but that's, unless you're Manchester City, this is going to look somewhat like this. But look at this forward progression. Of course, Pulisic scored the goal from this area here, and Musa was doing a good job getting forward. Robinson was getting forward a ton against a team like Iran that was a little bit more defensive, maybe a little less technically efficient than the U.S., it was good to see us get in front of our opponents here and really be aggressive. Now, the second half, last 10 minutes especially, more of that defensive sit bunker action. Simply cannot do that against the Dutch. As far as the stats go, 51% possession for the U.S., 12 shots to 4. All 4 of those shots came from Iran in the second half. 0.42 their expected goals for the game. All of that came in the second half. All of that came when we decided to sit, absorb crosses and chances. We had 1.18 expected goals. We scored the 1 goal, so we slightly underperformed that. But another situation where, again, we've kind of grown into the tournament. Loss, draw, Wales. Now let's talk about the Dutch side here, because it's not all peaches and cream for them as well. They win the game against Senegal 2-0. You do see quite a bit of forward progression, but in truth, both goals came from errors from Edouard Mendy, the goalie from Senegal. They slightly won the possession edge. They got outshot 15-10 by Senegal, and 0.67 expected goals for Holland versus 0.89 for Senegal. Really a harsh scoreline. And, of course, we didn't see Depay until very late in this game, his first game back from injury. Berghuis started next to De Jong. I'm assuming that Louis van Gaal expected to have far more of the ball and have far more progression up the field than what he actually ended up having. And what happened was we had an extreme imbalance in midfield with these two, where Frankie de Jong, of course, is a good, very, very good progressor of the ball, but then who's sitting behind him? Berghuis is an attacking player as well. Berghuis, he plays for Ajax, plays in the number 10 area there, that center attacking mid-role quite a bit. He's certainly not the one to stabilize this midfield. And then, of course, we had De Ligt here. Just an absolute nightmare at right center back for him. Looked like a fish out of water. Very fortunate to get the win. As I mentioned, they lost the expected goals battle. They got outshot, but they got the 3 points. That's the Louis van Gaal way. But how about Ecuador? This is a team that was vaunted as a very solid defensive team, but they really showed us they're able to press further up the field and actually try to play. There really hasn't been a team in this tournament that's truly sat back and absorbed pressure. And Ecuador, with the way they played, they set up in this mid-block here. This is crucial. Defensively, this is where they started their line. It wasn't here and leaving yourself extremely exposed and space in behind. It was a very solid block right through this area here. And what they did a really good job of was winning the ball in the middle area here and out wide, and then getting forward immediately. And this was extremely compact in here. So the Dutch were forced to play little triangles and then work out wide. You can see Dumfries and, even out here, we'll go with Dumfries here. He's getting forward quite a bit, but even Clausen was venturing out wide a little bit. Bergwijn was out there a little bit as well. Gakpo was venturing out wide as well to this right side. They were really getting forced, if we look along this midfield here, out into these wider areas because this was just so compact. Now, where's the fucking strength of Holland? Frankie de Jong, Davy Clausen, Gakpo, Depay, De Roon. Hopefully I'm guessing he's going to start if Louis van Gaal has half a brain. This is where the strength of Holland is, and they're forced to play wide, and they're using Daley Blind and using Dumfries, and Blind's a good distributor of the ball, but he's not beating anybody off the dribble. He's not playing 1-2s, getting in behind. Very limited with their attack, and it looked like it. They were slow. They were decrepit. Against Ecuador, they managed 2 shots. Cody Gakpo scored in the first 5-10 minutes, whatever it was, and really didn't challenge the Ecuadorian keeper for the rest of the match. 54% possession, just 0.1 expected goals. That Gakpo goal was an absolute rocket from nowhere. Versus, second game in a row, Holland gives up 15 shots, 1.68 expected goals, 46% possession, and in truth, kind of lost the areas of the pitch that you really want to win. Not many attacks, didn't really cause this Ecuadorian backline many problems, and conceded 1 goal, but could have been far more. So, again, they got the point. Maybe it's a little better. We finally bring in Koopmeiners. We try a different guy next to De Jong. Still not the right fit. I've been calling for De Roon essentially the whole tournament until finally we get him against Qatar. Now, look, it's the worst host team in the history of this tournament. Qatar loses all 3 games, crashes out of the tournament, so you'd expect Netherlands to win big. They were something like minus 280, minus 300. I can't remember what the line was, but massive multi-goal favorites here against Qatar. They did manage to keep 63% possession. Depay, of course, did start the game. Gakpo started right next to him with Klaassen underneath. 13 shots to just 5 for Qatar and 1.61 expected goals to just 0.14 expected goals for Qatar. Now, of course, why do I bring that up? Well, for reference, Qatar got 0.32 expected goals versus Ecuador, 0.22 more than Holland got. And they managed 0.96 in their first match against Senegal. So they did fine, and this kind of highlights how solid Holland is defensively. Among those 15 shots that Ecuador had, they allowed only 1.68 expected goals. If the U.S. gets 15 shots off tomorrow, I guarantee we win this game. Now, field position-wise, this is dominant. This is pure dominance. This is as dominant as one can get with field possession and getting in these attacking areas. Again, not a ton of action in here, hence the not massive expected goals here. They grabbed 2, one obviously with the early Gakpo goal in the first half, and then grab another one. But it's Qatar, guys. Qatar is not a great team. Only 599 touches, nearly doubled up by the Dutch. But we're talking about different key areas here. Everything for Holland is Frankie de Jong. I want to highlight just his heat maps here and show you a key matchup for the U.S. As you can see against Senegal, he was forced to stay more central because Berghuis was next to him. This is not good. You don't want Frankie de Jong here. You want him pushing forward. They tried to get that with Koopmeiners. Again, not enough balance, not enough possession, not enough good areas. He really wasn't getting forward, and oddly enough, spending more time on this right side when, he loves getting up this left side here. And you see against Qatar, really pushed his area forward. I bring that up for 2 reasons. Number one, the midfield is our strength. The midfield is our strength. MMA, Musa, McKennie, and Adams have been one of, if not the best midfield in the tournament. Some would argue Croatia with their experience and talent. Sure. Brazil, maybe, whatever. The USA is in this mix. And people keep saying Musa versus de Jong. Musa versus de Jong. I don't think that's what it is at all. It's going to be McKennie versus de Jong. And not only McKennie, but McKennie and Adams versus de Jong. Because what we're going to have here is de Jong blend and some combination of Klaassen combining in these midfield 3. And so let's go over here to the tactics map here. I'm assuming Haji Wright starts and Cameron Carter-Vickers starts. CCV, I think, just makes all the sense in the world versus Memphis Depay. You could go with the height of Zimmerman, but how do we concede the only goal? A penalty kick on a silly challenge by Walker Zimmerman. Carter-Vickers was solid as can be. He provides that pace, the strength, and the agility that someone like Memphis Depay has as well, versus the taller, maybe less agile, we'll say, Zimmerman, who could get turned by the tricks of Memphis. I think this is the way we set up, and it creates very interesting situations. So typically the Dutch play, let's talk about this mid-block here, right? Tim Weah, Musa, McKennie, Adams, and then, of course, we play with a little bit of a high line here. This is this mid-block that we're talking about. And you can see straight away, now, number one, these things are huge. I'm probably not going to be able to click into them. But essentially what Holland is trying to do with this almost 5 in the middle of the park here is create numbers up situations throughout the field, right? If we have, let's say Ake has the ball, Blend pushes forward here, de Jong can even shift out wide, and Memphis is finding this gap. There's different number situations where they're looking for these passing lanes. This versus this is exactly where this game is going to be won. And if I know Weston McKennie, he's not going to take that too well. He's going to take that extremely personally and run himself into the ground to make sure that Frankie de Jong is not able to progress. And now what does progress mean? So let's get this guy out of here, this guy out of here. And they're playing out of the back, and then all of a sudden Ake finds de Jong, drops his shoulder, comes inside, and beats this player. Now you can see how impactful that is going forward. Without Weston McKennie there, Musa has to drop back, but even still, They're 4v3 in this area here. Blend's getting forward. Way is tracking back. Of course, McKinney's chasing here. But when him stepping, all of a sudden that pulls Adams out. A quick 1-2, and Clausen's in or leaves it for Gakpo. If you're playing against an undisciplined Senegal midfield, if you're playing against Qatar, you're going to be able to do this. You're going to be able to progress the ball. And if we go back to Frankie's heat maps, where's the progression here against Ecuador? There isn't any. This is as far as he got. Against Senegal, he did a bit better. Got forward in these good areas, got in the box a little bit, scored a goal, I think, or maybe that was against Qatar. Now that I think about it, but got in some good areas and progressed because this midfield of Senegal is unorganized, right? Kouyaté, Mendy, and where's my guy, Idrissa Gueye? Diallo's more on the wing. This is a mess. You cannot cover the entire field and try to keep someone like Frankie de Jong in this area here. I bring this up because I like the tactical adjustment that Greg Berhalter had against England, where it was almost a 4-4-2, and Weston was getting pulled out wide, and we were getting numbers up situations when we had the ball to keep possession. It's going to be extremely important for us to, when we do get the ball, keep it. And with progressors of the ball like we have with McKinney and Musa, who can beat a man and find Pulisic, and then find Robinson, and then we pull it back to Ream, and then we find Carter Vickers, and then we find Adams, and we find Carter Vickers, and then we find Dest. All of this is us being able to regain our shape, catch a breath, get reorganized, and potentially put an attack together. But not only that, set ourselves up defensively to not get countered. Because in truth, I think we're going to be very, very hard to break down with possession. If it's on a counterattack, sure. If it's on a set piece, sure. But as far as just playing out of the back, this four, along with Tyler Adams, who's been one of the players of the tournament, is going to be solid enough to handle the group that the Dutch have in here. We simply have a numbers advantage. I will take our 5 against these 3 all day long. Now we have to talk about the wings, because if they don't have a numbers up situation here, just like we saw in the game against Ecuador, they have to go wide. They have to go wide. This is their game plan. Let's use the pace and athleticism of Denzel Dumfries. Let's use the technical ability and the passing range of Daley Blind. Let's get de Jong progressing the ball into these dangerous areas. Guess what? They haven't faced a more athletic 2 than Pulisic Robinson on this left side. The Jedi is an absolute monster, and another one who will take this matchup with Dumfries personally. I love the relationship from Fulham between Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson. I think there's been huge communication there and able to organize not only themselves but everyone else around them, especially young Yunus Musa, who, let's hope, because he's young, he's recovered in time. Turned 20 in the last game, ran his dick into the ground. If none of this makes sense and you're asking yourself, all right, well, how do we score a goal? I don't know. I don't know how we score a goal. It's gonna have to take an individual effort by one of these attackers, like Tim Weah, like Christian Pulisic, even like Serginho Dest, getting up this right side. And to be honest, I know we'll want to play through Pulisic, but as we scored our goal the last time, I think a lot of our success is going to come up this right side. Weah pushing up here, forcing Blind back, or pulling Ake out, giving us Van Dijk and Wright. Talk about a bad matchup for the U.S., but hopefully Haji Wright can occupy one of these defenders. But it's going to have to be with Serginho Dest coming here and everyone shifting, McKinney joining the attack, Musa getting in these areas, and Adam sticking right on Clausen to break up that counterattack. But it's going to have to be down this side, in my opinion, and not getting service into this side. It's going to have to be these 3 players, Tim Weah, McKinney, and Dest, operating against the unathletic Blind, the foul-prone Nathan Ake, who, to be fair, has been very good, strong, physical, a decent passer of the ball, not bad, and Frankie de Jong, who would much rather be progressing with the ball than defending without it. We got to make him work his ass off defensively, make Daley Blind play defensively as well, and form little triangles and get a ball in the back, and hopefully one of these 2 can get in there. But let's be honest. Let's not be naive. The U.S. cannot win a game 3-2 against the Dutch. This has to be a low-scoring game. We aren't going to sit and anchor and get in a low block and just hope for the best. God, I hope we don't do that because we haven't been able to do it the entire time. We got very lucky to get away with a 1-0 win against Iran. They had so many chances that they never would have had we continued to play that we were. And it really screwed us against Wales. The second half there where we changed tactics and got more defensive, you could see this young team was not ready. Maybe they don't have the grit to sit and defend like you need to sometimes. Let these kids go play. We're playing with house money. How are we going to score? I don't fucking know. A penalty kick, a free kick, a moment of magic from Christian Pulisic. Maybe these three down the right-hand side can combine because Daley Blind's stuck in the mud like Cristiano Ronaldo. I don't know. But we need to keep the clean sheet. Matt Turner's been brilliant. The back four has been brilliant. Whether it's Walker Zimmerman or my preferred pick, Cameron Carter-Vickers, who didn't put a foot wrong against Iran, this back four and Turner is going to keep the clean sheet. Tyler Adams will be the man of the match. He's going to have to be in order for us to win this game because he has a lot of work to do to break up this three and the connection they have there. And God forbid McKinney gets beat by De Jong to step in and break up that play there. It's going to be a fun game. It's going to be a tough game, but the reward is going to be so sweet. And hopefully the game plays out exactly as I detailed for you there. If this was fun, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I need a beer. Maybe we'll do these more often. I'm Duke. Adios.